Welcome to the Weekly Roar, coming live from the Lion's Den, helping new managers become great leaders and awesome bosses. And now, here's your host, Greg Storch.
Hey there, everybody. Welcome to the Lion's Den. This is the Weekly Roar. Today, I'm jumping into the new series, Effective Thinking, Your Pathway to Success. I'm going to talk about something that's super important for leaders to do, but it's also a skill we can develop as well to make our thinking more effective. You're going to find out exactly what that is in just a second, but first, I'm Greg Storch. I'm the owner of Lion Enterprise, a leadership development and coaching business where I focus on creating winning work cultures one leader at a time. I'm a certified professional leadership coach and a certified leadership speaker and trainer. Now, last week, I spent a little time sharing a recap of the past 4 micro videos that you could get up to speed with as we head into this full series today. I provided some tips on preparing yourself to change the way you think. And over the next several weeks, I'm going to share different skills that you can develop to help you do that. Now, if you weren't able to join us last Wednesday, or if you just want to watch that session over again, all you have to do is head over to my website at lion-enterprise.com, click on the Lion's Pride Library where you'll find video number 112 for last week. And while you're in there, stick around in the Lion's Pride Library and check it out. It's a free resource and it's a great way for you to get more of the roar. Okay, what do you say we begin the new series? Today's episode is called Think Big or Go Home. One of the most important skills that leaders can develop is the ability to think in terms of the big picture. Why? Because they've got to be able to see more and before everyone else. So what I'm doing in this series is sharing skills for you to compare yourself against. See which ones you do well and which ones you might need to improve on. So as I share some of the common traits of people who think big, see how you size up. If you're doing well here, great. Look for ways to just continue to grow here. If not, identify the areas you need to work on and start working on them. And if you need help, let me know. I do that in my coaching. See, most people almost have tunnel vision in their thinking. They stay focused on the one thing and only one thing. It's sort of like photography in my mind. So if I want to highlight a certain subject, I can zoom in with my lens and show all the detail around that one subject of my photo. You know, my wife just took this amazing photo of a sunflower, and it had this huge bee that was hovering over it, and it cast a shadow down into the middle of the sunflower. It was the perfect shot. It actually was so well done that a friend of hers had that picture enlarged and framed for her daughter, who happens to love sunflowers. So in that case, that's typical thinking. We zoom in on the subject, but leaders, they pull back the shot. Their picture isn't narrow focused. It captures the big picture. So if you were to zoom back out on that picture that my wife took, you would have seen an entire field of sunflowers with a horizon and other stuff in the picture. If you aren't sure that you're thinking big enough, here's 4 common traits that people who think big share with one another. They think big or they go home. The first thing that people who think in terms of the big picture have in common is that they're committed to lifelong learning. And I know a lot of you that are watching this today are committed there. So you can check this one off. If you're always learning and never satisfied with what you currently know, then you have this trait of big thinking. Not sure this is you? Think whether or not you like to visit new places. Are you reading new books or picking up the same old books and rereading them? Do you get out and meet new people? How often do you learn new skills? If you tend to do those things, then yep, you're a big thinker. This is one of the reasons why they say leaders are learners. It helps them to think in terms of the big picture. The second trait that they have is that they're really good listeners. They understand that listening can teach them a lot more than talking can. The thing about this trait is that they aren't just listening intently to everyone and everything. They're engaging people who have different experiences or in areas where they may be stronger than themselves. Big picture thinkers who develop an ear for active listening understand that they don't know it all, and they always have things that they can learn. People who think big listen big. They're prepared for every opportunity to learn something through every interaction. And they do that by listening to those who have something to teach. Now, this third trait, I really love this. It's a little bit challenging for people, but big picture thinkers are able to see things through different lenses, not just their own. Now, this is where we start getting away from being wrapped around ourselves and having the ability to think of others. You can think of it as having an empathetic view of the world where we can not only see the world through our own views, but more importantly, the views of other people. In order to get better at this, you have to be willing to let go of your agenda. Listen intently and try to understand how other people think. Basically, to improve this trait, you need to be able to get out of your own way and embrace bigger picture thinking that includes the perspective of others' thinking as well as your own. And then the last trait that I wanted to share with you is that people who expand their thinking to the big picture, they tend to get more out of life. By expanding their thinking, big picture, they expand their world, and so their experiences are much different. Expand your thinking, expand your world. When our thinking expands like that, we're able to see more and before others. We're able to gain a better understanding for others' ways of thinking. And that's what results in us becoming more tolerant of other people and different thoughts than our own. So maybe you're wondering why you would want to spend your time getting better at thinking bigger than you do now. Well, if so, I'm glad to know that you're thinking about that. No pun intended. If you're assessing this skill, the skill to think in terms of the big picture, and you realize you may need to work on it a little more, then let me give you a few reasons why you would want to do that. And hopefully this will help motivate you to work on thinking more in terms of big picture. Now, as I said earlier, good leaders have this skill. They need this skill to be able to have vision. It also gives them the ability to know the way and show the way for their followers. People who can think bigger with a wider spectrum also have a better chance of staying on track and staying focused on the things that matter. Why? Because when they have the ability to see the big picture, they understand what small things should get done and which ones of those things are going to directly contribute to the big picture. Want to be more empathetic? Want to develop the ability to see things from other people's perspective? Big picture thinking is going to help you do that. Big picture thinking helps you look beyond yourself and your own interests so that you can put yourself in someone else's shoes. Having empathy goes a long way in human relations, and it can become a key trait for you in any relationship, personal or professional. Okay, so those are a couple reasons why you might want to get better at this. Now, I want to share 4 things that you can do right now that are going to help you to begin to get better at thinking in terms of the big picture. And the first thing you can work on is try to get away from needing things to be certain. Yeah, you're going to have to get out of your comfort zone because big thinkers are okay with ambiguity and they don't strive for certainty. They think in more broad terms, and they don't try and take those thoughts and package them and put them in these separate and distinct compartments and categories, right? They don't try and put it in some orderly fashion to make sense out of it. And another thing they do that you might be doing already, as a matter of fact, I'm sure there are a lot of you who already know this, but big picture thinkers develop the ability to learn lessons from every experience. Yeah, that's right. They view everything as an opportunity to learn. If you think about it, that makes a lot of sense. The more experiences you have, the more lessons you learn from them, the broader your thinking. So for this one, just keep putting yourself out there. Try new things, different things, take chances, and regardless of the outcome, always take the opportunity to look for the takeaway from those experiences. Now, this next one is another favorite of mine because it goes back to the whole topic on who we surround ourselves with. People who can think in terms of the big picture not only learn from their experiences, but they surround themselves with people who have different experiences than their own in order to learn from their experiences too. Just like choosing the people who we surround ourselves with, make sure that you're selective about whose experience and advice that you're going to take for yourself. You want to tap into those who have more depth and a broader field of experience than your own. Now, this last thing, it's a little more challenging. It'll probably take a little more effort because of our conditioning from our own society, but if you want to expand your thinking, you'll have to work on breaking the mold and stop settling for the status quo. Give yourself permission to go against the grain. Don't always go with the flow and get painted into this little box. You know, there's a quote I saw that said, "I'd rather live one day as a lion than 100 years as a sheep." So what I'm saying here is be the lion. Okay, everyone, there you have it. That's the first skill that you can assess to improve and become a more effective thinker, thinking in terms of the big picture. That's a great place to start. So for your assessment of this skill, just ask yourself this simple question. What actions do I take to understand others' thinking, learn from my experiences, and move beyond myself in order to process my ideas from a more holistic perspective? And that, my friends, is the big picture. So next week, I'm going to talk about the importance of being engaged in this type of thinking. And by doing so, we remove distractions in order to concentrate on the tasks at hand and to think with clarity. If you want to hear more about what that is, then just come back to the Lion's Den and tune into The Weekly Roar next Wednesday at 11 a.m. Eastern Time. All right. Thanks, everybody, for supporting me and watching The Weekly Roar today. I appreciate you so much. And until we meet again next Wednesday, just remember, be powerful, but stay poised just like a lion. Bye, everybody.
Thanks for watching the Weekly Roar live event at lionenterprise.com. If you enjoyed this video, please tell others to join us each week here in the Lion's Den. Thanks again, and see you next week.